Welcome to Essential Ethics with the Markkula Center. My name is Anita Varma, and I'm the Assistant Director of Social Sector Ethics as well as Journalism and Media Ethics. And the purpose of this segment is to offer some timely content related to the current coronavirus pandemic and its ethical implications. Today, we'll be focusing on issues related to the ethics of work and how that's affecting the nonprofit sector, particularly by speaking with one nonprofit leader who can tell us about it firsthand. I'm pleased to be joined by Jennifer Radics-Johnson, who is the Executive Director of the Alisa and Ruch Burn Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to preventing burns and fires and providing services to those affected by burn injuries. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today. My first question is, what have you been experiencing in your nonprofit organization since coronavirus precautions really started in mid-March?
I mean, things have just been moving so rapidly. I created our executive director, my executive director's report for our board a couple weeks ago, and it really documented the actions that the organization took from early March to mid-March, and then all the way through the entire month. But our board had met on March 9th, and at the time there were some concerns from the staff about some of our upcoming programs. But I just remember so vividly, one of our board members had said, as of March 9th, we are continuing programs and services as scheduled. But he wanted to mark it with that specific date. March 13th, we had an emergency meeting with our executive board and council, and we decided it was not possible to continue programs and services as scheduled. So we decided to modify all programs and services, and we put a pause on all in-person programs and services. And I think at the time it was through April 6th was the date that we had chosen. So we had to do all of the updates on our website, through our social media, contacting families who had RSVP'd for upcoming events to let them know that we were modifying all in-person programming and converting them to virtual programs. So that included any support groups that we had for burn survivors. We had to cancel a ski trip that we had scheduled for child burn survivors. But our goal was to really exchange, if we canceled an event, have some type of way to connect our community, either virtually or even over the phone or whatever it might be, to let them know that we were still here to support them. So we put out several messages to our donors and our supporters and survivors that we serve, just letting them know that our doors are open and remain open. So we are still operating. It's just any in-person events have been canceled or modified moving forward. And unfortunately, it's indefinitely until we know any greater news from the state or from our local officials.
That's incredible, though, that you've been able to respond so rapidly. And I imagine there's been a lot of people involved behind the scenes in terms of staff and employees. Could you talk a little bit about the impact this has had on them, on folks that work with the foundation?
Yeah, so we have our staff working from home as of mid-March. Thankfully, we've been well equipped for this. We are a statewide organization. We're a small but mighty team of 7 paid staff throughout the state of California. So we're pretty nimble in terms of where we work out of and how we work. But our board had implemented Zoom about 2 years ago for our board meetings. We do our staff meetings via Zoom. We have a shared drive where we keep all of our files that we're able to share information and access files that way. So when the shelter in place orders kind of rolled out county by county, our staff are able to work from home, and we're able to be as productive as ever. I mean, we even converted our phone lines probably about 5 years ago to voice over internet phones. So, you call our office line, people are answering, our staff are answering on their cell phones and able to access voicemails at any time. So fortunately, we were pretty well equipped to be able to work from home and continue operations, even though we're not in the same work environment that we're used to.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and wonderful in terms of forward planning to have those things in place before maybe they were as necessary as they are now. You mentioned that you had been in touch and your staff had been in touch with the families and the folks who otherwise would have been attending those programs, letting them know that your doors are still open even if it's virtual. I wonder if you could speak a little bit more to the kind of feedback you're getting from the people who would normally be physically at your programs and just the impact you're seeing on the communities you serve.
It is, it's tough. This is a tough time for the community that we serve. Even though we were well equipped to be able to convert our events to virtual opportunities, we find great value in community and coming together, and specifically coming together in person, right? So especially working with those affected by burn injuries, and burn survivors, they often feel isolated or alone. And through the Alisa and Ruch Burn Foundation, we're able to offer opportunities to connect and to be with one another, and to know that we're not alone. And so it's been challenging to replace those opportunities that we once had. That the ski trip that challenges a child who might be missing a limb or has never seen snow before, or feels like they don't have friends at school, to just say it's canceled, it breaks our heart, and it has been really challenging for our community to just find a replacement for those events that we've had. But everyone's also understanding of knowing what the situation is. And so I think that's what's most heartbreaking. When we started to get notices from the hospitals, the burn units that we work with, that they're no longer accepting any visitors, that was really difficult for our staff to comprehend, not being able to visit with those in the burn unit who feel so alone and don't know what resources are out there, and don't have the answers as to what's going to happen next. My staff couldn't be bedside with them to speak with them and give them the resources that they need. So I think that's been the most impactful in terms of our survivor services. Another area that's a big part of our mission as well is burn prevention education, and we do that in our communities and at community events, at open houses, in the schools. And so that was something right off the bat, that when there were bans on mass gatherings, we knew that was going to affect the way that we do fire and burn prevention education. But it's really inspired us to figure out more effective ways to get our messaging out, even beyond social media, because I know everyone's on social media right now. Everyone's getting inundated with messages and messaging. So it's really challenged us to figure out better ways to connect with the community with our safety messages, connect with our community to continue that sense of togetherness. So it's been challenging, but not impossible. We work on it every day, and we'll continue to work on this as this is our mission.
I wonder if you could speak just a little bit to what those alternatives to social media are that you've been using to communicate with folks, because I think you're absolutely right. There's just a lot of inundation on a lot of social media channels right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're still working on that, right? We're still trying to continue. We even have a grant that we're working on to do the research that, we don't know what we don't know. But so far, what the staff have been able to rally around and produce pretty quickly, are putting together just mini lessons and mini tips that we can put together in video form that we would house on our website. Actually, I was running a little late to this interview as I was working on how to be productive was the topic that my staff gave me. So, we're just trying to do these little how-to videos and activities for people to just be able to watch and be engaged in, and see a familiar face that we might not be able to meet in person, like I had mentioned, but even just watching a video from one of their camp counselors on how to make a friendship bracelet or whatever it is. We're really just trying to find different ways to still maintain that sense of community. So I don't know. As soon as we can figure out what methods and delivery mechanisms we have outside of social media, we'll let you know. And we're open to also learning more as we continue to traverse this, uncharted waters.
Yeah, that's definitely the term for it, uncharted waters, and learning experience, I think, for all of us. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Anita.